YouTube, I got home. It's only 1,000 degrees outside, and my queen was like, "Hey, we ought to gumbo in the freezer." Some of y'all know my queen is not from Louisiana; she's from Ohio. I bought her for like a pack of cigarettes and a Bork's root beer or something. I don't remember. But anyway, she moved down here with me from Ohio after I was up there working, and she's getting pretty good at cooking. She still ain't got the gumbo down. So I'm gonna make a gumbo, and I guess I'm gonna halfway put it together. I do it different than other people. Everybody got their own little way. Some people call it the Trinity: the onions, the bell pepper, and the celery. Well, I don't use celery. To me, it tastes like old wet socks in a gumbo or anything. So I use the red, the yellow, and the orange bell pepper, and the green bell pepper, and I'll go from there with it. I like to cook my onions and bell peppers down first, then I'll add the roux. As you can see, I'm making about a 5-gallon bucket full, but I'm gonna saute down the bell peppers like this. Get them when they start getting soft. I'll throw the onions in there and let them start getting soft. That way, by the time everything's finished cooking, all you see is the little skins, basically, because they completely fall apart. But this is step one. It's 1:06. I'll keep pointing to the time so you can kind of get an estimate of how long. As far as the fire, there's no seasoning in it yet. I put a little bit of grease on the bottom so they wouldn't stick quite yet. Got the griddle burner on high, and then I got the other two burners on about medium. And like I said, probably cook this for about 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Let the onions the bell peppers start getting soft, and then we'll add the onions. When the onions start getting soft, I'll put my roux. We'll be back. Alright, so I am about 5 minutes into this. The bell peppers are still kind of crunchy. It's doing good. Oh, forgot to tell you. You see that right there? You need that if you're making Cajun cooking, because you got to be able to scrape the bottom of the pot. You can use a wooden one, or you can use a metal one. You don't use a plastic one. But I'm about to put the onions in. So before I even get to that, what I have in here is 2 green bell peppers, 1 orange, 1 red, and 1 yellow. And I'm just simmering them down, sauteing them down. Like I said, a little bit of butter. Still didn't put any seasoning in there. I'll wait to put the season till after I get the roux. My queen's cutting the onions. We're gonna put about 3 pounds of onions in here. I like a lot of onions. But yeah, you need something like this to make it work. I mean, you can do it without it, but it's so much easier. And I kind of flash steam onions and stuff, because when I'm in a little bit of a hurry, I take it, spread it out like that, comme ça. Then I take a little bit of water and hit it, and the bell peppers, they're gonna get really soft now. So again, 112 now. So however long that's been. But the onions are coming. Be right back. Alright. And the queen has finished cutting the onions. There is 4 pounds of onions in here. Like a lot of onions. With the onions, you do the same thing. Whoops. And that spoon's getting hot. Don't forget to take your spoon out your pot. I'm going to do the same thing with the onions, just like I did with the bell peppers. I'm going to throw the top on these in a minute. Just letting them get a little bit brown. Once the onion starts getting soft, I'm going to add the roux. And no, I didn't make my own roux. I'm using the roux out of the can. Just because it's a lot easier and it don't make the house smell. My wife said the only time I get to make roux is when she leaves for a week or so. And she never leaves. Because, man, I ain't gonna lie, roux stink when you're making it. For something that stinks so bad, it tastes so good. We'll be back. Alright, up to this point, the onions and stuff have pretty much got soft. We put about 1.5 cups, maybe 2 cups of roux in it. And just gonna try to break it up. It's the smaller the clumps you can get out of it, the easier it's gonna be to cook. Because you talk about nasty if you catch a clump of roux in your spoon that didn't break up. Little story. I was making some homemade roux when I was in Ohio, because up in Ohio you can't get this roux. So I was making some, and I made a pretty dark roux, and I wanted to stop it from cooking. So I took it out and put it in a glass cookie pan that we had. My stepdaughter comes in and she's like, "Ooh, brownies." I said, "Nope, it's not brownies." And she's like, "Yes, it is." I said, "No, it's not." And she stomped her feet a little bit and hooped and hollered and, "Okay, you want brownies? Here you go." And I wish you'd have had that videotape, because that sure would have been some fun stuff. She said, "Hey, that's not brownies." There she is right there. That was about 5-6 years ago. She was younger. She didn't know the Cajun food yet. She was still learning. So, but that's it. Right here, I'm just trying to break it up. Add a little bit of water. You'll see, if you got some roux, you'll see it starts to kind of turn to liquid. Add a little bit of water like that, comme ça. It'll get there. Oh, and on the side I always have a pan of water. When the spoon's not in my pot, I put it in that water. Helps keep it clean and whatever. Then if I need a quick, something starts burning, I walk away and it starts to burn a little bit, then I just dump the water in it. You always need water around roux. So at this point you can see I don't know, almost 30 minutes in. And again, this is a huge pot of roux and gumbo. So it's taking longer than it normally would a small pot. This is going to be going in the freezer. Another thing, this is going to be a little thicker than we normally make it, because it's going in the freezer. When you put it in the freezer and you heat it up, you can add more water to make it as thin or as thick as you want. Some more water. And you gotta scratch all the goodness off the bottom. You can see the roux starting to break up. If you don't heat the pan up real good and you add too much water at once, then you gotta sit here and stir it and mess with it. And I like to heat it up in the bottom of the pan a little bit at a time, just like I did. And you see, you add water a little bit at a time. You try to smash it. Helps get rid of all the big clumps. My partner Steve up in New York is going to be happy. I've been promising him how to do this for about 3 years. I did one, and for some reason it would never post. It kept getting kicked off of YouTube. Probably hurt somebody's feelings or something. I killed the shrimp to make it. I don't know. But you can see, yeah, you don't want to put too much water, because then you got to find it, the roux in the water. So a little bit at a time. See, it's getting thick. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to add some more too. I don't think it's gonna end up being thick enough. I'm gonna add the water. What we do is, if we gotta add more roux later, put your pot on the side, and you put it in a little bit at a time. Because what you see right now ain't gonna be what you end up with by the time you put your meat, the water in your meat, and adding your water to this. I know I ain't sounding fun or cranked up like I am in the garden, in the greenhouse, but I'm trying to be quiet to let animals asleep. But you can see, I think I'm gonna add another tablespoon. I'm gonna let it cook a little bit because there's still some clumps I'm finding. Anyway, we'll be back in a few minutes. We are at 1:37 my time, but if you remember the time from the beginning, you get an idea of how long it's taken me. So we'll be back. And we're back. I don't know how, again, at this point we still have not put no seasoning in it. We are right there, another 5 minutes into it. The difference between a stew and a gumbo is the amount of roux you put. If you want a stew, you put more roux or you put less water. If you want a gumbo, you add more water. Don't let nobody tell you no different. Anyway, I did have to add a little bit more water. I might not have to add any roux. It's pretty thick at this point. And we're going to check it out and see. But as you can see, the reason that we use the square tip is to scrape the sides. You talk about if you don't scrape them sides off after you stir it, you're going to end up with a mess. It's going to be hard to clean, and you see, it gets thick again because of the heat. Getting ready to add some more water, and then you pass the spoon along the bottom. Make sure ain't nothing sticking. Like that. I still see a few pieces of roux, so I'm not going to add the water yet. Anyway, this is easy. When I come back, we're gonna probably add some seasoning, show you my secret sauce. We'll be back. Alright, so we're getting ready to add some seasoning finally. We still gotta add a lot more water. It's thick, but I like to add it when you can see the bubbles. One thing you want to make sure when you're cooking your roux, if it's thick like this, or even when it's not, if you cover it, it will boil over and make one hell of a mess. So you got to watch it. You just want it to barely turn over whenever you start cooking it and you walk away. The way it's doing right here, if you see them bubbles, it's foaming a little bit. Put that lid on it, you walk away for 2 minutes, you're going to have a mess. You're going to be mad. You're going to be cleaning. Anyway, as far as the seasoning, and before you ask, listen. I don't know. There's going to be a memo right here to tell you this is how much I put. Now, salt, just regular salt, because we Cajun and we don't use that sea salt because that's healthy. I just sprinkle a little bit of salt, and depending what Cajun seasoning I'm using, sometimes I don't put none. Sometimes I put a little bit more. The next one, Cajun seasoning, or Creole seasoning. I'm sorry. There's a difference between Cajun and Creole. Maybe one day I'll tell you the difference. Right now, the food's pretty close together. It's good, but it's a little different. Tony Sashery takes a lot of this because for the most part, that's where most of your seasoning comes from. When a Cajun says seasoning, they don't mean hot. They like it seasoned, flavorful. The next, garlic granules. You want to use granules and not powder. Powder will mess it up fast. So we got that. Then we got some lemon pepper. Lemon pepper. So, lemon pepper. Now here is, you do this for taste. All of this is to your taste. And you're going to see in a little while, once it's cooked down a little bit and there's the right amount of water, I'm going to keep tasting it to see if it needs more. Right here, this is red pepper flakes. Oop, that's a little bit too much probably, but we'll see. And then finally, just a touch of black powder. That's probably black pepper, I'm sorry. Black powder make our teeth blow out of my mouth. Anyway, you just take that and you stir it. And you can see the salt and everything breaking up in it. It's hot. You kind of stir that real good. Gonna let that cook in for a minute. Then I'm gonna add another pot of water, a big pot. Scrape the sides, comme ça, and comme ça means like that. I don't talk like that all the time, but I try to talk like that a little bit because we wasn't taught Cajun French when I was young, so the little bit I know I want to pass on to my little animal. Try to get my mom and my stepdad to teach him some more. Anyway, but this is what we got. You can see it's hard to see with the funky light, but it's a nice pretty brown color. Your onions and your bell peppers are starting to fall apart. And then you're gonna add some more water. That should just about bring it to the consistency we're looking for gumbo. You want it a little bit thicker. One thing you want to remember when you are cooking this, if you taste it and it's seasoned like you want, when you put it on rice, it's not going to be as seasoned. So you want it a little bit more seasoned than you start with. And make sure when you cook your rice, you put some salt in that pot. You'd be surprised how much better your gumbo will taste if you got a little salt in your rice. Not much, a pinch or two per cup. I think when we cook 6 cups of rice, I end up using about a tablespoon of salt. That's why I don't put too much salt in here. But it will, everything you cook that you put the rice on will taste so much better. And my wife, being from Ohio, had an argument with me because she knew how to cook rice better than I did. And of course, she was wrong. She's female. I don't want no hate mail, that's a joke. But alright, I gotta clean the sides up before I make a mess and it burns on it. It starts tasting the burnt. We will be back.